Here are my top 10 favorite heist movies ever. In 10th place, let's start out weird with Kevin Hart's Lift. This is everything that I want in a heist movie. It has the visual style that I love, with the speed ramps and the close-ups and the whip pans and the split screens, and it looks so good! And it has the philosophy that I love in a heist movie, where heisting is seen as a morally good thing, without actually needing some sort of Robin Hood excuse. The philosophy of the movie seems to think heists are awesome and deserve to be done, and anyone who opposes the idea of a heist is immediately a bad person. I love it! But that's only my 10th favorite. Number 9 is Ocean's 11. And I know that feels weird to put Ocean's 11 as number 9. Ocean's 11 is a classic for a reason. It is perhaps the seminal work of the entire genre. This one movie redefined the entire genre forever. And it turned glamour heist, my favorite type, from an occasional quirk you would see in Raffles or the Thomas Crown Affair to the predominant form of heist movies. And let's be honest, glamour heists are the best heists. It defined a lot of the tropes. It, importantly, defined the visual style. And that's a huge part of what makes heist movies work. And it kind of created the definitive roster for almost every possible role you can have on a heist crew. Because when you have 11 people, you need a lot of roles. Now, I know it feels weird to put Ocean's 11 all the way at number 9, but there's a good reason. The movie came out over 20 years ago, and the genre has evolved so much since then. Leverage and Now You See Me alone pushed the genre forward so much that now Ocean's 11 feels like a relic of the past. The last time that I watched it, every single cool visual thing made me think, I could do that. Freaking iMovie has automatic options to do all that cool stuff, because that cool stuff got so cemented in pop culture that everyone wants to do it. And then they built on top of Ocean's 11. And so there's so much that is so much cooler than Ocean's 11. Speaking of which, number 8 is definitely Now You See Me. The movie understands so well how to give a heist movie glitz and glamour and over-the-top showmanship. Every single scene is just so much fun to watch. And I'm gonna be honest, I hated the twist ending up until about 2 weeks ago. I have a Patreon exclusive video about why. But now, honestly, I think that twist is really good. And also, the chemistry between the crew of their constant bickering is really fun to watch, I gotta admit. And the structure of revealing how they did it after they did it is a really good narrative technique. Number 7 is Inside Man. This is the cleverest heist movie I have ever seen in my life. You can tell they thought this through so well. I love the narrative framing device of bouncing back and forth between the prisoner interrogations and the actual heist. It makes it feel almost like a documentary, and the opening shot, I didn't even realize, is exactly what inspired the opening shot for my heist movie. In a lot of heist movies, the twist doesn't entirely work. You think about it for years and you realize all these holes in the twist that I don't know if the creators came up with, but no, Inside Man, the more you think about the twist, the more it works. I recorded the first part of the video in the Care B&B that my family put me in while I was down in Arizona for my brother's wedding, and then I had to leave before I could keep making more videos, so I'm making the rest in my own bedroom. Number 6 is Wonka. I know most people wouldn't even think of this as a heist movie, but come on, Wonka even calls it a heist. It is fun, it is delightful, it is wholesome. I just plain like musicals, okay? The cinematography is excellent. Paul King just really knows where to point a camera. Timothée Chalamet's acting in this is just so good. I watched Wonka, parts of it, just before I watched Dune Part 2, and it feels like watching two completely different people. Not in the sense of he transformed, but in the sense that it feels like two twin brothers who look exactly the same and are completely different people. Gosh, his performance in Wonka is great. The movie is full of all these setups, and the heist is the payoff to everything. It's like Chekhov's Gatling gun. And when you have a movie as sweet and saccharine and loving as Wonka, a movie that believes that the most important thing in the world is a sweet treat, second only to the people who love us. It is so easy for this movie to make me want to be a better person, and for that alone, it gets number 6 on my list. Number 5 is The Bad Guys. Oh my gosh, I freaking love this movie. The whole movie is every heist trope I could ever want put into one movie. We get a laser maze, and a car chase, and a most hero room in the world scene, and a black tie infiltration, and a betraying twist, and a sexy cat burglar, and a lock and load montage, and we get all those things multiple times. This movie gave me so much of what I want that I almost canceled making my own heist movie because I was just so satisfied with The Bad Guys. And then I realized, no, I'm making my heist movie for fun because I enjoy it, because I want to play around in the sandbox. In my mind, Ocean's 11 is no longer the definitive heist movie. It's The Bad Guys. Like, if I just wanted to get somebody to understand what a heist movie is, I wouldn't show them Ocean's 11 because that's what a heist movie was 20 years ago. If I want them to understand what it is today, I would just show them The Bad Guys. And I love the world building it sets up, where the heist crew have all become freaking celebrities because of their heists. Not adored celebrities, feared celebrities. I would love to see adored celebrities sometime, but this is so fun to watch them try to reform their image throughout Act 2. DreamWorks is incredible about making that type of movie. They've made like 7 movies at this point about self-proclaimed villains who go on a redemption arc and then try to be the good guy even though the world doesn't accept them as the good guy. Everything from Shrek to Megamind to Sinbad. And so The Bad Guys is to heist movies as Shrek is to fairy tales, and Megamind is to superhero movies, although not quite as good as Megamind, because that's a really high bar. But as far as heist movies go, oh my gosh, this actually is the Megamind of heist movies. They even have lines from Megamind in this movie! But I do think it's on par with Megamind in the sense that I don't think anyone's ever going to make another heist parody about a crew that tries to go good that is on par with how good The Bad Guys is. Number 4 is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. And look, here's my signed copy. Patrick H. Willems said it best. This movie is the platonic ideal of what a Mission Impossible movie should be. It is somehow fun and tense. You constantly get these moments of just gripping and holding your breath and wondering what's going to happen, and then letting it all out with a laugh and a cheer. There is so much betraying and so much backstabbing and so many scenes with just really good, entertaining, competent spycraft. The cinematography during the opera scene is incredible. Ilsa Faust is the best thing to ever happen to the Mission Impossible franchise, and this is just genuinely one of my favorite most secure room in the world scenes ever. When they're talking about why they have to go underwater instead of just walking through the gate recognition scanner. Oh my gosh, that's such a good way to portray it. They're showing what's going to happen and what's going to go wrong while they're talking about it, and then they reveal that they were just imagining it. Oh my gosh, so clever. And I haven't even mentioned the plane scene, and I'm not going to. Instead, I'm gonna move on and talk about my 3rd favorite heist movie ever, which is Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. This is just fun, the movie. It is such a good way to let off stress after a long day. There was a time when after any time that I had a long day at work, I would just think, I just want to go home and watch Mission Impossible. And every time I was thinking of Ghost Protocol specifically. The structure is immaculate. It is just heist after heist after heist after heist with just enough downtime to show you the preparations and show you the fallout of the previous heist. It's glitzy, it's glamorous, it's jazzy, literally. That prison break with Ain't That a Kick in the Head by Dean Martin. Such a good, fun soundtrack to put over that absolute chaos. Josh Holloway is criminally underused in this movie. I want an entire Mission Impossible TV show about his crew. And that Burj Khalifa sequence with the tallest building in the world might, to this day, be the best stunt sequence ever made in any movie, period. And I keep using this movie as the example of how to do so many heisty things. Right before Tom Cruise climbs on the outside of the building, they have the best example of a most secure room in the world scene. This is how to do a most secure room in the world scene. They just have a conversation about why it's difficult to get into this room and plugging all of the plot holes so that you feel like, no, the only way to do it is to do the cool thing. And that's when I realized that heist movies are written backwards. You start with the cool thing, and then you build a plot around giving your characters an excuse to do the cool thing. The Kremlin scene does not deserve to be that funny. The car park does what I love in fight scenes, where they use the environment as just a fundamental part of the storytelling of the fight, where if you said it anywhere else, it's a different scene. For nearly a decade after it came out, The A-Team was just my favorite movie, period. And I spent every movie after that just chasing that high of watching The A-Team. And then Paddington 2 came out. Yes, my actual favorite heist movie ever is Paddington 2. The screenplay is just textbook act structure. This is how I would teach act structure to any screenwriting student, because the inciting incident is on page 15. The Act 1 climax ends on page 30. The midpoint climax ends on page 60. The Act 2 climax ends on page 90. And this is a 120-page screenplay. And the themes: if we are kind and polite, the world will be right. That is such a good, wholesome, loving message. Everything in the movie supports that message. In fact, everything in the movie supports each other. Lots of movies have each of those things individually. Lots of movies have all of those things collectively. But very few movies have all of those things working so perfectly and all supporting each other. The cinematography supports the production design, which supports the acting, which supports the VFX, which supports the themes, and everything supports everything, so that you get this whirlwind, this Penrose steps, this lattice structure, all building to giving this clear message. If we are kind and polite, the world will be right. I genuinely believe the world will be a better place if everyone would watch Paddington 2 once. There are so many other favorites that I couldn't fit in here because, there's only 10 slots, so I'd love to hear, what are your favorite heist movies? Check out my Patreon for an exclusive video about why the twist from Now You See Me might be secretly brilliant. Follow for more heist movies.